Welcome back to Now. I'm your host, Angelica Ross. You're going to be seeing me do my whole setup live, kind of live, because, we do have some pre-recorded aspects of the podcast. But I am using all this technology. I have Streamlabs going right now. We're streaming to YouTube, kind of X, a couple different things. This is just going to be a first time tester, but for the future, I got a little setup ready for you. Okay. So welcome back to Now. I'm your host, Angelica Ross. Today is Monday, September 15th, and our word from Buddhism, Day by Day Wisdom for a Modern Life by Daisaku Ikeda says, quote, "One thing is certain is that the power of belief, the power of thought, will move reality in the direction of what we believe and conceive of it. If you really believe you can do something, you can. That is a fact. It's also true that if you don't believe you can do something, you won't be able to do it. This is an area where if you don't have it yet, that's where you can start to develop faith in yourself and in the things that you want to accomplish in life. You can start right there. All right. So for those that are listening, I'm like I said, I'm actually trying something new here tonight, and I'm recording the weekly aspect of the podcast live right now on YouTube. And then I'm going to download it and upload it. But normally this will be sort of a feature that's exclusive to my YouTube subscribers and members. So I have finally been approved for the YouTube Partnership Program after reaching, a few milestones. We have about 3,800 subscribers now on YouTube, and over 3,000 hours of our videos have been watched. And so now we can finally begin to monetize things. A girl needs to make a little coin. So long story short, I started this podcast off in February. And I started it off with, with a partnership, hoping that, listen, I basically said from the beginning that I was willing to do this podcast myself. Obviously I can put up the lights, the cameras, I can video edit, I can do a lot of things, but my team and my agents and my management was all like, yes, great. But, we feel like we want to get you with a right team and get you with a full team so that you can launch this and it can start with the bang that you need to have it launched with. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, the bang was not a bang. And the reason why it wasn't a bang is because, I felt like, just me being just honest, I felt like the people that I was working with, they were looking at the fact that I have 480,000 followers on Instagram. But, after a while, I think they were really counting on a conversion rate of some of those followers over to the podcast, but they weren't, taking into consideration that my platform was being shadow banned and it was experiencing some heavy suppression from Meta because I was speaking up about Palestine. So, which also is affecting, my corporate sponsorships. I mean, not that I'm, again, capitalism is what it is. But again, being a quote unquote celebrity and having, a certain platform, I would have deals with all kind of companies posting on my Instagram stories and reels starting at $10,000. And that has all but stopped because they can't see their return on investment in my metrics anymore because my metrics are being suppressed by Meta. And I'm not spreading lies. I'm not saying misinformation. I'm just trying to amplify the voices of the people of Palestine and in Congo and Sudan, all of the things. I've been sharing so much on my platform until I realized, like I said on a previous episode, that it was my efforts were somewhat futile on that platform because it's hard coded. The suppression's hard coded. So they're only going to let me get so much reach there. So the partners that were salivating over that many followers and trying to get that to, kind of easily cross over, well, no pun intended, it did not cross over. And so I ended up carrying a lot of the weight and building this podcast episode by episode with the help of a small, talented team. So thank you, Marcel Hutchins, Jake Metersky, and Jared. I know I've never really said folks' names like full names. I just call them by their first names. So I've never really said their full names. So this is kind of the first time I said it. So Marcel Hutchins, Jake Matersky, and Jared Parisi, I believe. And crowd management, thank you so much for all the support that you have been giving me as I kind of do this one woman show in physicality, but you have been, working with me remotely to, make this the best that we can make this. Thank you to everybody that's viewing right now. I see we got a lot of folks tapped in right now. So with that being said, I am using this as an opportunity to expand my listeners' experience by inviting you all to join the winner circle. All our listeners, you're already winners. So that's what I'm calling all our listeners, our winners. But you can officially now join the winner circle with a membership on YouTube. So not only will you get exclusive access to things like watching this and watching me tape live for the podcast, you can submit questions and more. You might be even like pop on video. I actually have that ability for if you got good lighting, and good care, if you got a good setup and want to pop on video and ask a question or get some advice or something, we might be able to do a little bit of that too. So there's different levels to it. So the basic level is only $4.99. So basically, the different levels will give you access to the full Winner Circle experience, which is very exclusive. It's actually, you get either a monthly or a weekly exclusive live experience that's just us. Just only the members that are on that level, and we talk about whatever you want to talk about. I can go into depth about Buddhist concepts. I can talk about and give you my opinion on, some things that are happening right now in current affairs, or you can ask me personal questions and guidance, whatever that is. But that's only going to be once a month for certain folks and weekly for certain, hey, Alana, hey, weekly for some other folks. So if you want to get in on that, subscribe at youtube.com/at Miss Ross. That's youtube.com/at MISSROSS. Yes, the name of the YouTube is Miss Ross. That's where it all goes down, is Miss Ross. Whether we're in the winner circle, whether we're on the podcast now, it's all going down at youtube.com/at Miss Ross. You can click there right now and join the live stream. As members, certain members, you can also comment in. So if you are a certain member at a certain level, again, only $4.99, you can comment on the videos, and at different levels, you get all kind of perks. So I'm making this first video available to everybody. So now for my conversation with the author and poet, Frederick Joseph, where we explored the intersectionality of advocacy work and the challenges faced by marginalized communities. We talk about the pyramid of privilege, where white women and black men often align with systems of power to gain their own benefits. And we also highlight the importance of dismantling these systems to create true equality for all. Y'all ready for this conversation? All right. I want you to take a listen. Frederick Joseph.
What's going
I feel like
on?
I feel like when I say that, I'm saying your government, but that's what you go by, right? I feel like I'm giving people your full government.
It's amazing how long it's been. I saw a memory maybe a year ago. We went to the beach this one time, and
I remember. Yes, that was in the Hamptons, I think.
Yeah. And that
Yeah.
was like 8 years ago.
8 years
It
ago.
was like 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah.
That's how long it's been that we've been out here doing the work.
Trying.
And and one thing that I will let people know, okay, like for those that don't know, Frederick Joseph, author, advocate, great husband, I guess. So I'm assuming,
I try.
Uh, um, but for folks that don't know, like, sort of the fact that we've even known each other for that long and the type of work, um, talk to me about, because this is 2024. So we're talking, what's eight? Don't make me do math on camera, but like,
Yeah, we looking at like 20 was 22. You got me messed up. That's like 2015, 2016, something around there.
okay.
Yeah.
So right now,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. So between then and now, as an advocate at the intersections that you've been at, what kind of progress have you seen in the conversation? I guess because you sit at an intersectional conversation of, like, obviously Black liberation, but also you've been an ally to us in the LGBTQ community. You've been an ally to women with your book, Patriarchy Blues. Um, so has the converse, and not to mention, like, let me tell you something. When you did the Black friend or what have you, I was like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I'm gonna let you go ahead and do your thing over there because I know that you're talking to the white people over there about their
Uh-huh.
white friend, but now that book has been banned, right? It's
Right,
one of the
right,
books
right,
that's been banned.
right.
So, you've been having these type of conversations. Talk to me about what's changed for the good or for the better.
Uh, well, first of all, for those listening, it's an honor, like truly.
Thank you.
I've always been able to, like, even just seeing you do certain things, send you a text, just loving on you, just proud of you. But God, I'm so proud of you, and I just wanted to say that from jump. I actually also saw that episode that you did um, a bit ago with Raquel.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Another phenomenal book. For those who haven't gotten it
Yes.
yet,
The
The
risk
Risk It
it
Takes
takes
to
to
Bloom.
bloom.
Yes, yes, that book is it. But yeah, to your question, I'm gonna be real. I'm not gonna.
Listen, that's what we are here. That's all we got time for is being real.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so we're going backwards.
Yeah.
I think that even some of the progress that I saw, because I do get to be in different communities, right? Like
Yeah.
I have the privilege and the honor to be invited into spaces with trans folks who trust me, to be invited into spaces with queer folks who trust me, with women who trust me, with non-binary people, but then also sit in spaces with cishet folks and people who are liberation focused, but also people who are sadly deeply capitalist focused, right? And
Yes.
so,
Yes.
but what I did see years ago was us starting to have certain conversations. And I think that there has been a strategic dismantling of those conversations in the
Twitter was
ways
one
that
of
they,
those.
yes,
Yeah.
in the ways that they become mainstream, because I think a few things have happened. One, Twitter was a huge thing for,
Baby, we were connecting.
yes, yes. So if, let's say, I just want to call, let's just call it, let's just talk about it, right? I saw what had happened, at least obviously after the fact, with what is her name? The nepo baby who was being transphobic with you.
Oh, Emma Roberts.
Yes, I saw
Yes.
that. But the issue is, had that happened a few years earlier, the ways we could have engaged around it because of like a Twitter and certain things, and had more accountability around it, would have been different. And that's just the truth. I think it was
Well, and
strategic.
but it's also a situation where, unfortunately, and who knows, if I ever have the chance to sort of sit down and talk with her about all the things, again, it's because it's a situation where, again, we're being real, right?
Hmm.
I don't. I just don't have conversations for no reason. I don't put stamp of approval on nobody being like, oh, this person's cool or okay if they not cool or okay.
Right,
And so my thing is, I looked at her, I said to her straight, I'm just like, listen, it ain't just this.
right,
Like, if we're gonna talk about it,
right,
your fans know you. There's threads on Twitter everywhere about your behavior.
right, right.
Not to mention, I know my colleagues, what they know and told me and blah, blah, blah. None of them might say anything because that's, the culture of our thing is what it is.
Right.
But like, so I want to talk about how you as a white woman is being a tyrant.
Right.
And I was included in your play in the games that you play, but that wasn't just a one-off situation. You've been playing games with everybody all season, and I was
Right.
basically dodging bullets left and right, thinking that like I was not, it's water for ducks back. But like again, when we have these Hollywood roundtable conversations and you got white women at the table with black women, a lot of them white
Right.
women ain't talking about how they flex their power on set, and it's not about diversity. It's about how much they can get.
Right. I mean, that's that is, I think, one of the reasons why I think we've gone backwards is because we conflated progress with white women's progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that white women want to dismantle patriarchal constructs so much as it benefits cis white women, right? And realistically, I'm being really honest, I don't even think sometimes it's just cis white women. I think that it's just white women as a whole. From what I've seen, I have particular individuals in
Absolutely.
mind right now. I
Absolutely. Oh,
think
trust
the
me.
issue is whiteness.
Caitlyn Jenner,
Right.
and other folks, sign up to that too. So
Exactly. And so the issue is whiteness. And because whiteness became the leader supposedly in progressive spaces, supposedly once again, the work stopped happening, right? The work became capitalism. I think especially in light of 2020, what we saw happen with, quote unquote anti-racism, quote unquote patriarchal constructs, quote unquote transphobic constructs, homophobic constructs, so on and so forth, was like, oh well, McDonald's made their money, and so we're on to the next thing, right? And I actually posted a poem about this the other
mm-hmm,
day,
mm-hmm.
just the love and the work only existing in June for most folks, right?
Or
And
February.
yeah, yes, February, June, Juneteenth,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna sell some books on Juneteenth, but are you buying my books when it's not Juneteenth, when it's not Black History Month, so on and so forth? Because I'm still if you think I'm a damn good writer on Juneteenth, then I'm a damn good writer on June, 21st and March 9th, and so on and so forth, right? And I think the work specifically, in terms of me trying to be an ally in spaces, and this is just, I have to call a spade once again.
Please do.
I was having better and more I was having better conversations that were leading people to water a bit more in 2018 and 2019,
Yep.
maybe even 2020, because I feel like what
Yep.
happened was on the other side, right? Especially when you're talking about, I can only speak to this from the point of like you know uh heterosexual men, right? And specifically cis heterosexual men. There was these people, Joe Rogan and Kevin
Mhm,
Samuels
mhm,
and all these different
mhm.
people
Oof. Mhm.
who gained
Rest in
popularity.
peace. Rest in
Pieces,
peace. Yeah.
pieces. You say piece, I say pieces. Sure,
Yes.
but there were all these people who gained popularity, but the supposed left didn't combat that by saying, like, taking someone such as myself, right, who's like, hey, I'm trying to be intersectional here, I'm trying to have the conversations, I'm trying to they weren't trying to white women who own those spaces were not trying to build me up to combat Joe Rogan and
Absolutely.
Kevin Samuels. And so what you ended up having now in 2024 is, for years now, these boys and men have been on TikTok, on Instagram, on whatever, learning and becoming even more rotten because they've been following them. You never gave them an alternative. There are alternatives out here. It's not just, Frederick Joseph. There's plenty of people who are intersectionally womanist, intersectionally feminist, so on and so forth.
But that
And
all
yeah.
sounds like nerd talk. And the reason why I say that is because we're in a culture right now where I don't know if you've ever seen a movie called Idiocracy.
Hmm.
We're in a culture where that's becoming a reality,
Facts.
where when people are talking too factual, too many big words maybe or something, they're like
Yeah.
nerds or I don't want to hear that, whatever. And so what, because you tapped on something to say that our culture has moved towards capitalism being its god, basically.
Yes.
Um, so, and white women basically wanting their slice and not really wanting equality for everybody, but just
Right.
really wanting to experience that.
Right.
Talk to me about why, how does the pyramid of privilege work
Mm.
where white women do that,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have black men doing that,
Yes.
in a sense that it's still a patriarchal world.
Yes. So
And
go
you
ahead.
got people like your Diddy's,
Yeah.
like your Ice Cubes, like
Yes.
your Russell Simmons,
Yep.
and your
Like
LA
Charlemagne and all
Reids,
these different people.
Charlemagne,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
them
Yeah. Yeah.
who
Yeah.
have stories
Yep.
that where one of their stepping stones was a black woman's back or face
Uh huh.
or whatever, and they're not truly telling the full narrative. If
Right.
we're talking about Straight Out of Compton, we're not talking about how he beat Michelle,
Yes.
or all the
Exactly.
different things that are
Precisely.
happening. And so, what worries my heart and my spirit is being a part of this culture that is idolizing folks. And this is why I'm making a move every episode to kind of try to, as much as I can, to
Mm.
try to redefine celebrity.
Mm.
And that being people really understanding that celebrity is all about what are we celebrating you for.
Yes.
And what I
Mm.
know is that success is nice, but we know that we don't want to celebrate success that not just capitalizes off of our community, but that kind of abuses and takes advantage of, and that takes from, in a way, the way that patriarchy takes from women and leaves nothing behind.
Right.
How do we stop the pyramid of privilege and when every show, even reality show, is like a chance to win at just being able to pay your bills and live and
Mm.
be all right?
Mm. Well, first, God, that's a word. To the point that you had made before about the nerd talk, I completely agree with that. And just to keep it a band, part of the reason I think that the pyramid exists is because if you have, I mean, you've been around me. For those who have not, I'm 6'2", 230 something pounds. I'm not a little nerdy, little whatever, and I will punch you in your face for talking to Angelica a certain way. That's just what it is, right? But
Right, right,
we don't want to amplify that exists, right? We want to
right,
amplify that Kevin Samuels exists, but not like, oh, you can get
right,
punched in your face over some homophobia. It can go down. It is what it is, right? And that's not, and you can be out of the community and be like, yeah, we can get it cracking. What's up? You know what I mean?
right,
Like,
right.
and so we don't build that up. But to the point of the pyramid, so I mean, at the top of the pyramid is whiteness, and I think that
Absolutely.
people have to understand that black people are not a deified people, but we talk about us as if we are sometimes, as if the very nature of being black means that you are a progressive person. That is not true at all, right? Progressiveness is a choice and work, right? It is a choice and work. And most people are not trying to take the choice or do the work. And so they choose the easiest thing, and that's proximity to the top of the pyramid, which is, again, is whiteness, right? So white women oftentimes try to ignore the fact that they have the sword of whiteness because they try to use the shield of their womanhood, right? But there's nothing greater than that sword. At the end of the day, a
And
white
the
woman,
proximity is a choice. Like,
right?
yes, they are white women, but just because you are white women and that's a white man doesn't mean that you need to constantly align to the proximity of that privilege.
Right, but it's because they oftentimes within their own whiteness, they don't realize they're not really trying to dismantle patriarchy. What they're trying to do is just swing the pendulum of power towards
In that way,
themselves.
yes,
You know
yes.
what I'm saying? And
Which,
that's
what
the
my
difference.
point is that's what so many people are trying to do.
And that's what I was about to say. Even black men, when we and that's another thing. It's black men, it's black people, right? The amount of homophobia. I think even the
Yes,
point that was
yes,
made
yes. But again,
recently.
what you're saying with white women aligning to white supremacy, then you have black women who have been told. Wait 1 second. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
My camera just went out a second.
Hmm. Don't forget your point.
Not at all. Let me see if it needs a battery change. Give me one quick second. So we're still recording. That's fine. I'll just make a note, obviously, in the editing to edit there.
Technology.
Yes. Look, you said not forget your point, and now I just didn't sit down. But that's what I was going to say is, unfortunately, so many black women as well through the church, because
Mm,
there's always so much commentary for black women and how they should live their lives, and while black men escape a lot of accountability
right,
within and outside the church and the
right,
community. But then you've got a lot of black women who've been sold a story that if they align with patriarchy,
right,
that they will get whatever scraps that patriarchy is trying to give their black man.
right. That's exactly it. I mean, everybody, and then black men have been sold a story that the more you align with white men, you're gonna get their scraps. You know what I mean? And same thing that white women are doing. Oh, you align with white men, you're gonna get
Yes,
their
yes,
scraps, right? And so
yes.
everybody's telling the lie to the next person. And again, it's not just a pyramid; it's a pyramid scheme, right?
Oh, yes.
And that's just what it boils down to. The reason that we're here, and the reason why, hell, I can,
You know
you
what?
can,
Honestly, wait, this is the second time. This is because I was just in another conversation. This is the second time. I think it was maybe Francesca. This is second time that someone has referred to America as a pyramid scheme. And I
mm-hmm,
think that we're just kind of onto something. And I think we're all kind of,
mm-hmm.
most of, if you are anywhere aware, you're waking up to this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that even the moment that we are in currently, right, where I don't know what's gonna happen in November. It's a mess. But
Ugh.
it's because people. The reason it's a mess is because you can't get away with the same things that you got away with in 2008 and 2002 and in 1998. It is 2024, and people we got eyes. We can see,
We got.
baby. Like we can, I see it in front of me. You know what I mean? Like,
And that's
but
what's wild. That's the audacity that the government, that's what kind of just gets me so upset is when they do stuff in front of your face. Like even the fact that Joe Biden is making these moves, that he first of all self-identifies as a Zionist
mm-hmm.
and then makes moves to tell smart people and college students that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism.
And you're not just the funniest thing, they praise these institutions. The students that he's talking to primarily Columbia, Harvard, Yale. You done told me that these are our best and brightest. Now you calling them dummies. You know what I mean? So when they don't align, they're
Which
dummies. But
one is it?
right. And the thing is, even prior to what's taking place in Gaza, right? You already had, for me, you not doing enough for the people who you basically got elected on the backs of, right? You said you was gonna do more for black folks. You said you was gonna do more for trans folks. You said you was gonna this and that, third. I remember specifically saying I was a one of Elizabeth Warren's national surrogates, and one of my big things, because like you said, I try to sit at the intersections of many things, was that was 2020. I think that was the most deadly year for trans people in
Yep.
history, if on record, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
remember correctly, I think that was the
Mm-hmm.
most deadly year at the time.
Well,
Um,
especially because it was COVID. COVID was going down, and the girls still needed to
Exactly. And so that was the most deadly. That was the most deadly year. And so I had said to Elizabeth Warren, like, this needs to be a thing, right? You need to. If I'm a rock with you, there needs to be some whatever. And so when she lost, I remember Biden them asked me to come on, and they were like, "Oh, we saw some of the things that you were talking to Warren about. We're gonna be doing X, Y, and Z for trans folks, this and third." I remember 2 years ago, I reached out and I was like, "Hey, what happened to those?" Because I got three organizations that you probably should look into. They, the babies is outside in Florida fighting for their lives. You know what I mean? What are you doing? And they're like, "Oh, well, right now is not the time." Like, good luck in 2024. That's all I know. That's all I can say.
because so let me tell you something. That's one thing about this podcast. It's called Now for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because now is always the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have what we don't realize, and what intersectionality should teach everybody is we can't leave any of us behind.
Right.
We can't be ableist. We can't, because one thing COVID teaches us is that this our country does not care about you, and our country does
Right.
not care about disabled people. And so if you catch COVID or any other thing, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
You have a high chance of just joining the disabled community.
Right.
And
Right.
now you're going to really find out how hard it
Right.
is and how America doesn't care about you. So
Right.
when they're saying things like that, like you're right. I was also of the same thing. Like, well, what happened to these things and what happened to this? And it is kind of you. I think that have, I sometimes struggle from symptoms of visions of grandeur when I'm thinking that, because I think you got to feel this too. I feel like you feel like you're Frederick Joseph in a time that all this is happening with with bearing witness, but also using your platform to speak up and doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing similar things. Obviously, Tamika Mallory. I mean, there's
Right.
a lot of us. A lot, Linda Sowers. There's so many of us doing so much work, and sometimes it feels like or seems like it's not enough. Especially when the algorithm is working harder than Chris
Ever.
Jenner. Listen,
Ever.
it's working harder than the devil is working harder to keep
Mm-hmm.
us all spinning in circles. Do you? I have visions of grandeur of thinking now is the time. Like all I kind of see is now's the time to flip the table,
Yeah.
because what we're up against a wall. They're basically telling us to choose between a
Mm-hmm.
convicted felon
Mm-hmm.
and a war criminal.
Right. No,
And not
that's
to
exactly
mention,
it.
and listen, I hate that people out here throwing words willy nilly.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me tell you something. First of all, some of y'all better speak to me nice.
Mm.
I'm a black trans woman
Mm.
who has come from the margins,
Mm-hmm.
poverty,
Mm-hmm.
and have been given very few options that this white supremacist country has given me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time in my life where I thought joining the military would help, would
Mm.
do something.
Mm.
I've never been to war. I was
Mm-hmm.
scared out of the military before I even, was deployed into
Right.
anything. But I've been trained. I was willing and able to fight for the rights of this country.
Right.
So one thing what you would not do is disrespect me. Number
Right.
one, I am not a war criminal. Number one.
Right. Right.
Number two, for black and brown folks who did not create this system,
Mm-hmm.
I hate that, you know, what I heard somebody on social media talking about, well, if you want to talk about selling your body,
Mm-hmm.
she was talking about people who, sign up basically to give their body to the government
In the
and
military,
giving,
yeah.
yeah, because they now have control over where
Right.
to put your body, front
Right.
line, back of the line, do whatever.
Right.
So, but so I understand the nuances of trying to make it in this country, trying to go after the pursuit of happiness, trying to believe that you're an American who has certain inalienable
Mm-hmm.
rights. But there is no way that you can tell me as someone who has looked up to everybody else and white people who've been running this country and doing things, and now we have an internet, we have the UN,
Right.
we have an international court of justice,
Right.
and now our president is trying to tell us that they don't hold any validity.
Right, right. The things that we led to have the invention of. Like that was us. That was the United States. The United States was the founding of the UN. Like we were behind that. The International Criminal Court, so on and so forth. I mean, you know, to the point that you made about us trying to do the work. And I want to call something out because I said to someone earlier how exhausted I am because
Ooh, talk
the
about it.
reality of it is that
Mm.
the work, sure, we've been called to it, we do it,
But I
but
didn't
you
ask for this.
I was gonna say, but here's the thing though, you're an actress. You're an actress. That is what you that is who what that is your passion, and not only you an actress, you're a hell of an actress, right?
Thank you.
And
Yes.
so we're you're talking about
But
film
I got to
like
do this. Now I got to babysit.
this
Now
is
I
what I'm
got to do
saying.
this
This is what I'm saying. Like I'm like I'm
because
gonna
I
write
have
it
to.
right because that's what we are called to do, right? People will be like, oh, I'm like, if you read my work, like I'm a author, I'm a poet, I'm so on and so forth. I'm like, I want to like my novels that are coming out next year and the year after that are about love, but I gotta also talk about fighting for our rights in them. Maybe I just want to write brown sugar. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe, but you know what? When we call to the work, we don't get. I don't think we talk enough about the work is not who we are,
Mhm.
and that's the hard
Mhm.
part.
Mhm.
Especially when
Mhm.
those of
Mhm.
us who do
Mhm.
certain things, like again, using you as an example as an actress, you see, you could have, and that's the honest truth. You could have other things, right? You could have other things and more things if you weren't trying to save the world. And we don't have that conversation enough. That saving the world, especially when you're on the margins, means that they're not going to give you the things that they already don't want to give you in the first place.
Listen, that's so much of a word. Yes, and what's even mind-boggling to me is when people who probably should know that and know better with that are pulling at me as if I do have more and the things that, and I
Mm,
can't even tell you it, the reason I built Trans Tech.
hmm
We celebrated our 10-year anniversary this June, actually. And I spent my entire time as that I was the executive director,
hmm
not taking a salary
hmm
and doing the work. And but what happened was a lot of that time I was applying for grants and doing different things. But
hmm
because of how I make things look, because of how much work I put into things, I constantly got someone else got another organization or someone else always got chosen because they thought, oh, she's Angelica Ross.
Right, 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 right,
What does that mean
right,
when I'm
right,
a
right,
black trans woman who
right,
is not getting Emma Roberts' check?
right,
I'm not
right,
getting the same pay per episode. I'm
right,
not even getting the same pay per episode as some of the damn other black people on my own damn show. You understand what I'm
right,
saying? So
right,
like, so it's not that. And not
right.
only is it not that, but what the biggest thing that I've seen with folks, either the word I can only use best is coveting, like coveting my life or what whatever it is that a lot of times folks don't understand is like many times what I was offered
Mm,
was crumbs
mm,
or offered something I needed to make look better
right,
or and I made it look better and I
right,
made it work for me. Or,
right,
the fact that I'm independent with certain things, like it's because I'm a techie and I know how to run a camera and put up some lights and I know a thing or two about editing,
right,
so, but I'm willing to unplug from the system.
right,
in order to go without, in
Right.
order to not have their win, because I could. And the thing that drives me bonkers sometimes with celebrity is that sometimes we get a little bit too full of ourselves
100%.
and we believe that we're just such great artists that we have to block out everything
Right.
to just deliver the art so that it can be great. And don't get me wrong, I get that, right? That's of course.
Right.
We all want that as
Right.
artists to be able to do that. But to know that every day, every moment is a choice.
Right.
And so to know that I could have made a different choice,
Right.
but I'm not going to.
Right. I
And if
mean,
I had the
that's
chance to make it again, I'd make the same choices.
everything you're saying. 'Cause anybody with any common sense can see it, right? Like you can see there's people who I know, there's people that we know where we have similar,
Hmm.
and even with what's happening in Gaza, right?
Yep.
I've been like, I'm heartbroken. I'm like, oh man, they gave you a few things, and now oh man, not you. It was like for certain people, it's like, oh, it's all good to make money in 2020, right? Oh, I'm black, or to make money in June. Oh, I'm queer, or I'm trans, so on and so forth, right? And then you see pictures of babies with no heads, so on and so forth, and know who's doing it, but you don't want to lose the check. You know what I mean? You don't want to lose it, this and that and the third. And I'm like, I just can never be a slave to capitalism in that way, right? I just couldn't, because then what's the point, right? Like I said, like, and like you were just saying, the reality of it is that for the most part, and obviously as a black trans woman, there's no group more marginalized in the world than the black trans women. We know that. So when we're talking about crumbs, obviously there are some black trans women who are doing very well for themselves,
Of
but
course.
overall, when you look at demographic, if you want to look at where the most marginalized people are, here you go. And so when we're talking about crumbs, we have to understand that crumbs means crumbs at times, right? Like, and what does that mean for society to have any expectation of anybody from that community other than how can I support you, right? Because everybody else,
But
like,
still,
realistic,
they are the people who will give the most, who will show up at the
yes,
front lines for Black Lives Matter protests while being called a man,
right,
while being disrespected.
exactly, and that's the thing that breaks my heart about. We could carry that message. Some of us even more than others right now could be carrying that message. And I've watched as people, like, I think since since years ago, when we were first able to connect years and years back, you went off and did wonderful things. We've had good careers, right? Like, I done went off and
Absolutely.
had best-selling books and this and we've had good careers. And I respect you and love you, because I sometimes feel alone. I'm like, man, am I the only person still out here on the same stuff we was on 8 years ago? Where, where are we?
Listen. One thing that we do here, and one thing that okay. So thank goodness that I have also found this book, and obviously, I'm sure you've read Let This Radicalize You. If
Yes,
you
yes.
like, so I've obviously we've said this saying, let this radicalize you.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the book, and I see myself in the critique of things, in the sense that I'm with you, in the sense that I'm like, I know damn well there were more people to my left.
Mm-hmm.
I know damn well there were more people to my right that
Mm-hmm.
were saying the same things, and as privilege picked them off one by one and gave them a mortgage or a job or a part, or a position, a
Right.
title or whatever. You start to see people move differently.
Right.
And even that in of itself is the indicator. And I want to say this while being mindful of not trying to sound or like better than anyone or anything like that. But what that is us having to have some sort of space, grace, compassion, or whatever for people who are riddled with
Mm.
with fear.
Mm.
That's what renders someone unable to move
Mm.
when there is a threat.
Mm.
Is fear. Where do I go?
Right.
Where and not being practiced enough
Right.
to know that they can go to community,
Right.
especially if you're
Right.
willing to be intersectional, if you're willing to be progressive, if you're willing to be have space for my trans humanity as well as your humanity, then
Right.
you
Right.
can go and find strength
Right.
because we built numbers over
Right.
time. But
Right.
what has happened is, for some reason, I thought, as the founder of Trans Tech, as a person who was trying to hand over my blueprint of saying, hey, they don't need to know what you look like or sound like for you to make some money online and
Right.
do something. You ain't got to show your face if you know coding, if you know editing, if you know this, that, and the third.
Right.
So when 2020 and the pandemic came and things shut down, and all these corporations who were telling us and white men were telling us what couldn't be done, all of a sudden was being done. We're working from home and remotely and not going to the office and doing things differently.
Right.
People are learning to make different streams of income, lift different things or whatever. So I'm thinking this is the moment in history where we learn to be agile
Right.
so that we're not dependent on the system.
Right.
And then something happened where folks got, I think, too scared. The pandemic went on too long and people weren't figuring it out in a way where, again, it's not that it's not to blame us, but again, it is at this point where we as a people, I'm not all that special. You not all that special. Yes, we are, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that we are going beyond our fear to move.
Right. But the thing is, that's a word. The thing is, the thing you're afraid of is going to find you either way. Right. The thing you're afraid of is coming.
Hmm.
The issue is when you look to your left and you look to your right, and the people who used to be there gone, they're going to be running back, right? And the ways in which we're going to have to get things together without time and strategy is exactly what the things you're afraid of want, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, even like people have asked me, "Oh, do you think Trump's going to win?" I'll be honest with you, yeah, I do. I think that Donald Trump is going to probably be the president of the United States once again. And if he isn't, I think even if he is not, he's already running as a convicted felon, a twice impeached person, and an insurrectionist, and a person who says that Joe Biden is an illegitimate president anyway. How are you not preparing for what will likely be violence if he doesn't win either way?
Okay, pause.
Uh huh.
Because that's where I'm at. Because hold on.
Uh huh.
Why is you trying to fearmonger me into voting for Biden because of Project 2025 when I done been known regardless of who win?
Right.
2025's coming.
2025 is here. That's what do we? This is the thing. When we really look at what's happening right now, right? We look at what's happening. I just saw a headline today. They said that DEI or something like that is banned in Alabama schools, like fully. I saw that today, right? DEI don't mean nothing but disabled folks, black folks, brown folks, trans folks, queer folks. You know what I mean, and women in
Oh, they're
general.
about to go after everything. Race
Right, but they
based, ability
right.
based, all of that.
Right, but they already have, along with the fact that a whole genocide is happening, along with the fact that there are more police in 2024 than there was in 2020 before George Floyd was murdered. Right, the budgets have gone up. There's a cop city, obviously, coming up in Georgia. They just
And New
announced a
York.
cop city. They just announced a cop city in Queens. They just announced a cop city in Westchester County. What we're talking about, you talking about Project 2025. What about Project 2024? Right? So
Not
what
to
I,
mention,
go
not
ahead.
to mention, not to mention, let's imagine that this was election year. Wait,
Right.
it is.
It
But
is. Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
I mean
I know what
is
you're saying.
imagine that Biden, excuse me, imagine Biden was not the incumbent.
Right.
And this is what we're looking at. This is our
Right.
world. Do you know what lies they would be selling us
100%.
about what you would do about this moment?
Right.
But you are in office now. And
Right.
what you are showing me,
Right.
at least me right now, because one thing I am so confused about is how is it that I should be so scared about what Trump is going to do with the presidency when you're in the presidency right now and ain't nobody scared of you but
Right.
black and brown people and immigrants.
Right. I forgot. See, I forgot all about the fact that he just did the executive order yesterday or the day before that Trump had been trying to do for years. The things that the man you talking about, oh well, it'll be worse than the Trump. I'm seeing the exact same things happening, and so with that being said, I'm not honestly as people who are public figures. I'm not advocating for either of them because I refuse to advocate for white supremacy. Right, and so, but what I am advocating for is people preparing themselves because again, if Trump loses, or excuse me, if Trump wins, all
Or
hell's gonna.
loses. Hmm.
If
Or
Trump
loses. All
wins,
hell's going to break
all
loose.
hell's gonna break loose. If Trump loses, the hell that's going on will continue to break loose, and everybody will pretend that it's not happening until you're dead.
Yeah. Ooh.
I watched the police here in New York City. I watched the police, little girl, little Hispanic girl selling some stuff at a park. You know what I mean? It's hot outside. She's trying to make some money for the family. I think they said online she was 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
You saw this? Did you see this video?
I saw. I didn't see the video. I heard about it. Like a white woman called the cops on her or something like that. Tried to.
Yes. And then the police came. This little 12-year-old Hispanic girl knocked all the stuff that she was carrying, little gum and little trinkets, trying to make money for her family. Knocked them on the ground in the park and started arresting her, cuffing her. She's 12. And they grabbing her up like she's a grown woman because from the time we're 5 years old, all of us who are not white are grown. You know what I
Our
mean?
adults.
And
Yes.
so,
Yes.
but they grabbing her up, and I was looking. I'm like, if this would have happened under Trump, or even because the mayor is also a supposed Democrat, right? If this would have happened under another mayor, Republican mayor, so on and so forth, what is all of this doing for me? Because all I'm seeing is the same things that, like, I mean, shit. Excuse my language. I don't know if y'all be
No,
cursing
we
on
do.
here
Yeah,
like
we
that,
do.
but
Hmm.
okay. You know, if George Floyd would have been murdered, if Breonna Taylor would have been murdered, if Ahmaud Arbery would have been murdered right now, under Joe Biden, nothing that happened in 2020 would have happened.
Oof. You know, uh, I just so okay. So let me ask you this:
Mm.
do you remember when we all watched? I think on social media as
Hmm.
like Egypt, like flipped the table in their country.
Hmm.
It was, I think there
Yeah,
was an election or something
I
that had
guess I
happened.
do.
Yes, yes.
It
When
was the
I
Arab Spring. Yep.
when I tell you I was so inspired,
Hmm.
and I think you are right about people need to be prepared because like I think that the messaging is one we need to vote down ballot in the sense of okay
Yes.
Other than the presidency, there are other things that we can be voting for.
Yes.
And just like, a Republican in the presidency with an all Democrat, we need to make it hard for,
Right.
we need to make it hard for them to roll back our rights.
Right.
So we have to try, or have to do what we can. And voting is one
Right.
of those things. But
I
when it
agree with
comes
that.
to the presidency, I still believe I don't know exactly what it is, but I still believe there's a wild card on the table for us. And for me, that wild card is we, the people.
Mm,
There's some sort
mm,
of inherent power in that foundation that it was
mm.
supposed to have been. We don't have an escape button. We don't have a stop. We don't have an eject. We don't have and we, the people that are paying taxes and don't have the resources that we need. Potholes, infrastructure's going down, more police are getting built, and our kids don't have education and don't have lunch and things like that, or whatever. The mortality rate for Black women is at an all-time high.
Yep.
We have all these different things.
Yep.
There's got to be, I believe there's a wild card, like Egypt pulled, like. And again, what I believe is that they are trying to scare us into silence by shutting down protesting in several states, in a couple states,
Agreed.
by unleashing military force police into
Hmm.
against peaceful protests. Again, I was
Kids.
college.
Kids.
I don't have kids, and I just keep thinking to myself, if I sent my child off to college, I would be up at that school in rollers and a bathrobe.
These are Angelica. These are white kids. When I saw a picture from the
And they white
protest. I
kids.
can't. I'm. This is how I know that we're down bad. I saw a picture of a black woman cop beating up a white kid protesting at the encampment. I said, "What the hell?" I said, "What the what the, what?" what
It's the tethered. It's like I don't know, upside down where I don't know. But it.
it's
Oh shoot! Did my camera went out again?
hmm
Okay. You know what I got to do because I know we've been going. Okay, so when I get this back on, we're gonna start to wrap up because I know we've been going.
okay,
I'm gonna have to edit
okay.
this anyway. But okay, hold. Give me 1 second. I'm
Yep,
gonna unplug my mic and I won't. I mean my headphones, so I won't hear you
yep.
for a second. And this has 54%, so we definitely got plenty of room there. There we go.
Hmm. Oh, can't hear you. Mm-mm.
There you go. Can you hear me?
Yep, yep.
This is how I know that you and I have been way overdue for catch up,
Hmm.
because there's so much that we can talk about and catch up on, because again, being in this movement, and this is what I'll say too as well, let's keep in touch.
Yeah.
Let's work, because you and I have been, doing this sort of work. But I would say this, like, I want you to talk about this, and this is this. Don't be mad at me. But I want to talk about this because do you know this man named Emmanuel?
Oh my God. Acho. Jesus
Yes.
Christ.
So
Jesus
wait,
Christ.
okay. So listen. So listen. So the thing is like I remember when he first had a little show, and Oprah was putting him on the platform, and he was
Uh
talking to
huh.
white people.
Uh huh.
My immediate reaction was no,
Uh huh.
because it was just no. It was to give those type of white people that kind of platform to where they have every resource to not be that ignorant
Yep.
was a lot of things for me. And then to have a black man again doing that work.
Yep.
But talk to me about because you've been doing some of that work.
No, 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 I
No, wait,
haven't.
wait,
No,
wait. No, I'm
no,
not
I
saying. No, wait,
haven't.
wait. I'm not saying. Wait. Okay, so I'm not saying that you have. But what I'm saying is. So what I'm saying is, I think that was the perception
Yes.
with the book, Your
Yes.
Black Friend.
No, the black friend. But so
That's what I'm
here's
saying. The
so
Black
here's
Friend.
the
So what is the where's the talk to me? Talk
so
to
here's
me.
so here's the so Emmanuel Acho, Lord. So one, the book itself, the title of the book is a parody because when a person opens up the book, I'm just getting on white people, right?
Got it.
So the
Got it.
second you open up the book, it is not just me. I brought in a lot of people. I'm unpacking the through line from Susan B. Anthony to white supremacy, all sorts of things. The issue of white feminine, all sorts of different things. Unpacking, talking about just I have white people banned the book because. The reason why Emmanuel Acho's book is not banned and mine is because white people opened it up. They're like, "Whoa, wait a
Right.
minute!" And then I'm like, "Oh, all white people are racist." There's just absolutely no way that every white person is not racist in a racist society where everybody's been taught by the society. And so again, so it's not saying, but Annual Ancho, I actually just made a. I gotta say, I'm gonna text you this TikTok if you got the same number. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I'll make sure you
yeah.
have the same
All
number.
right,
Yes.
but I made a TikTok a few months ago about him because he has another book like Uncomfortable Conversations with a Zionist
Uh,
or something like that now. And I was talking about, here's a funny story for
oh
you.
no.
His book came out around the same time as mine. And so people conflated what he was doing with what I was doing, per the
I
point
was
that
one
you.
of them. I'm
Yeah,
telling
yeah,
you,
yeah.
I was one of them people because at that point I was like, I didn't even want. I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna let you go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go be over here.
No, per the point that you just made, a complete conflation, right? Complete
Right.
and utter conflation. If again, if you the book has my book has a chapter in it that's called FUBU, for us by us. And I'm just telling white people some things ain't for you. Whereas he's doing stuff like some of us want to be cops. I say in the book, every cop is bad. Ain't no such thing as a good cop, right?
Right.
Like, and so I'm whatever. So, but I wanted people. The idea was what would happen, and mind you, he also wrote his in 2020. I wrote mine in 2018, and so I was just wait. He's a bigger name, so his whatever. But my idea was like, oh, everybody be like, oh, I have a black friend who said I could do this and that and the third. So I was like, oh, what happens if you have a black friend who's like, nah, I'm gonna get you all together. You know what I mean? And so when his book came out, they conflated the two, and it hurt me and my book badly because people had this other expectation. And funny
Well,
story,
what would be the angle? What would be the angle for your for so say for instance, okay, you got a book out there now,
yeah,
and let's say, okay, we your black people, we your what would be the angle for us to want to support the book? Meaning, like, so what would be what would be the narrative? Like, I get the pitch to the white people that your black friend. What would be how would we like what would be the thing for black people to be like, yes, brother, do that?
yeah. I mean, so it's funny. A lot of black people have read the book and be like, "Oh my god, I haven't ever felt so seen reading a book because I'm unpacking the things that happen to us that some of us don't even in certain spaces get to
Being
talk
a
about."
black
Remember,
friend, right?
not everybody is in the spaces that you and I are in. We this a lot of these conversations like, oh, we're having these on a regular basis with people. Some people are like, even reading like an essay in which I'm talking about being black in the corporate world and having to like pretend that I don't do certain things on the weekend and lie to my white coworkers and this and that third. People are like, oh my God, white people are like, I never thought of this. Black people have been like, yo, thank you for saying this. You know what I mean? And so that's been the thing. A lot of black people be like, I really didn't know I wasn't the only one doing certain things because I'm not in activist spaces. I'm not in whatever spaces, right? So there's that.
Where's the line though with inside outside conversation? So I get what you're saying too, because I'm wondering to myself, like, you know, it would be great for us to be able to have space where we can talk about and exchange those experiences. But sometimes now, where especially with social media, with everything else, some of these house conversations we're having in front of everybody.
Right, right. I mean, I think that's that's the thing that's in that chapter. Funny enough, because I interviewed for that chapter Terrell Alvin McCraney,
Yes.
and so in that chapter, what I use is myself to say, I explain to white people by using myself as an example that everything that's black or brown, right? Like just because we over here, this and that, third, turn up, whatever song we turn up to, that ain't necessarily for you, right? In the same way that Moonlight, as the example I use in the book when
Yes.
I interviewed
Yes.
Terrell, Moonlight, I learned a lot and felt Moonlight deeply, but it wasn't for me.
Right. Right.
It was for him to
Right.
feel
Correct.
whatever he needed for him and his community. Shit, I don't
Yes.
even know if the movie was for queer people not from Florida. And you know what I mean? It was that he's like, this is my story. I'm doing this because it's cathartic for me. This is for communities that uplifted, built me, so on and so forth. This is for my queer babies down in Miami. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's not me. And so I use that as an example. So I just feel like people conflated the title, but to the point of Emmanuel Acho, my when our books got placed up against each other, not just amongst the community, but even in like sales, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I'm
so when
sure. Of
people started
course.
actually reading the books, people were like, "Oh nah, this nigga Fred, I'm gonna put this shit down." Nah, nah, nah. Like white people, like, nah, 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 this ain't it, because he was having Oprah-backed conversations with the cops and with this and that and the third, giving like, "Oh, we don't really want to. Black people don't hate police. We just want nah." And so what ended up happening, there was a Lord Costco. Costco had ordered thousands of copies of his book and my book. And when Biden won, they said, "Look, the national conversation around race has changed, and we feel as if your book is a bit too divisive versus his book."
Mhm.
They had 55,000 copies of my book around the country in stores. They returned them all. So for those who don't know, listening to this, publishing is a consignment business. Just
Oh
because you
my
see something in the
goodness.
store doesn't
Yeah.
mean that that thing in the store can't be returned. So
Exactly.
I had to, and I still haven't done it. I had to make up 55,000 copies being returned of that book, while they then took the offset and bought more of his book, because his book made white people feel comfortable and my book made white people feel uncomfortable. And so realistically, I don't have an issue with him if his book, let's say, was better or something like that. I have an issue because you're taking up space where we need to be having real conversations and you're
Well,
doing harm.
so now that I think about it,
Hmm.
I don't think it's too late. I don't think it's too late. I think that one thing I love about something like your book and things that are so evergreen, the conversation is still going, obviously, but also there's context between what was happening in 2020 and now, the George Floyd
Hmm.
and performative activism of it all. I think there actually is an opportunity for us. I think we can rebrand this a little bit. Like, like, to be honest, because I think that there was because I'm a part of that group that was in the missed opportunity
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this conversation, of the community, of being the Black friend. And
Right.
I think that what Emmanuel's book did, and what I did not like about the show he had with Oprah, is how much space it gave white people and their problematicness
Right.
versus how much space should be given
Right.
to Black and brown people and the reality of our experiences. And
Right.
so I think your book and all the things you talked about and wrote, and that you've been talking about here, has an ability. I mean, damn, I mean, I know you doing other stuff or whatever, but damn, that's a podcast. You
Well,
know what I
I
mean?
mean,
The Black friend, and talking to other Black people who have been the Black friend. I mean, I'm not just saying it's just that, but I'm just saying, like, there is something there in which I think, and where all some of us missed the point on what you were doing and trying to do,
yeah, I
that
think
you can.
I mean, it's for me, it's a wrap for that for a few reasons. So in that book, it features one white person. Every other chapter features nothing but black and brown people, and the one white person I feature specifically because she's an educator on dismantling white supremacy, whose grandfather was a Klan member. So when I'm saying I'm getting into the conversations in that book, I'm getting into the
Mm-hmm.
conversations,
Mm-hmm.
but because people realistically didn't open it up and see what it was actually about, and didn't, I mean, you had Jacqueline Woodson, who's a prolific author, along with many other people who did open up the book, blurb the book, say like y'all need to get it, and people were like nah. So
But
my
I
my
think
my book,
that title was wearing me. It was
I
wearing me
hear
out.
you, but now, but I feel like the other thing I was disappointed about at that time was people didn't give me the credit for who I had been the whole time, right? So it's like, so I'm like, hey, if you've seen why, you've seen nothing else of me, so why not at least give it a chapter to read it, right? There was chapters online.
But
Read the
you
first
know what?
chapter.
I think it was the mix of two things happening at the same time. One, that title.
Yeah, yeah,
Two, a manual. And
right,
three, the environment of people getting picked off for
right,
speaking to white people. And so
right,
the perception of the conversation being towards white people and not towards us.
right.
I again, like but literally, I think it was like just a little switch of seat, because the way that I even see it, like even just sitting here now, it's the same title, but in one ways I'm seeing it completely focused on white people understanding. It's almost like I'm your black friend who's going to tell you where you done got messed up,
Right,
versus
right, exactly.
let's have community as black people, how we've been the black friend who haven't actually been honest with these mofos when we've been around them.
Precisely. And so, I mean, at this point, I guess in 2 weeks from now, my fifth book comes out since then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so,
It's an
with that,
accumulative conversation.
right. And so, I guess with that being said, it was interesting. I just had to realize at some point, and this was just my sad truth. I was like, well, you know what? Even with the next book, Patriarchy Blues, which was also another bestseller,
I got that one.
and, and people, people were on some. In that book, I'm talking about misogyny, misogynoir, and all these different things, whatever.
Right.
And then the book after that, and so I'm like, hey, this is a body of work, and people should hold me.
Yes.
People should hold me to the standard in which I've always carried myself. And
Right.
so now, like even with We Alive Beloved, a myriad
And
of
that
poems
comes
in
out June
18th.
18th.
It was June 11th before we moved it to the day before Juneteenth. And so this book, it's a collection of poetry. In this, I'm talking about the things I be talking about. Like what is it? What does it look like for our babies who are queer, who are trans? I'm talking about all the things. So I'm like, people need to like engage with me around who I've demonstrated I am. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? Everything's a reflection. And what I love about, this podcast, No Opportunity Wasted, my
Mm-hmm.
Buddhist practice and the way that I practice, it is so that, I chant in a way so that I can see myself clearly, so that I don't take on any lies and other things that people try to put onto my life. But I also see
Mm-hmm.
my environment, my strength, my weaknesses, everything, sort of clearly. Um, I think that, sorry, I just what were you just saying?
I was saying, shit.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Yes, no. So I got it. So the reflection for me in this moment is that I
Mm-hmm.
have had the experience of people not taking me on the body of my work.
Right, right, right.
I am controversial at times with some of the things that I say and do at times, Um, but once it all shakes out, people see I'm right where I'm supposed to be with my
Right,
finger on the issue.
right, right,
But sometimes people might question me or not support me until they get to the point of understanding what I'm doing.
right.
And so what I know is many times when I sometimes experience certain things, for me, I have done that to someone else. And so for me, I know that, as I've admitted here, me just hearing the black friend, I checked out. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't even about you. It
Done.
was a
That's fine.
it was about the moment of I am not trying to give my attention to white people in that kind of
Right.
way. And so I had checked out, but I had not given you in this moment an opportunity to benefit of the doubt, to say, where is he going with this? And let me check in,
But
So I
that's
apologize for
no,
that,
and
first of all.
there's no need to apologize. That's actually just life. I think the other thing, to the point where we said that black people are not deities earlier, is also the conversation that's in that book. I'm talking about defunding, and I'm talking about defunding the police, but even more so, I'm talking about abolition work, right? So
Yes.
another reason why that book is important is because not every black person is on the page of abolition, right?
Right.
And
Correct.
so people that are title, and that makes sense. That's fine. It is what
It's
it
a
is in the
strong
grand.
title.
It
It's a
is, but
strong title.
no, it is. But I think even to that point you just said, eventually when people come around, I already know that at some point people come around and they'll read it or they won't, so on and so forth. But it's no different to me than I've been pro Palestine
Right.
my entire
Right.
life because
Right. So
I'm
when
a
you get around, right.
it's like, so I had plenty of people who were like, oh my God, we need to stand for Israel right now. I'm like, a settler colonial state? Why? And so people and people, now mind you, October is 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Fred, what's today? June 6th?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
now I see that the rhetoric has changed, but nobody's coming back to tell me you were right the whole time. You know what I mean? And that's fine, because it's not about being right. It's about doing the work. So if
It's not
people
about being
find,
right,
yeah,
but it is about the fact that what we experienced was a lack of community, a lack of support, a lack of understanding, a lack of range, people taking up space and helping to distract from the very thing, so there's a real energy, I think, that
hmm
still can be accounted for.
for sure.
Um, but yes, I hear what you're saying.
Oh, for sure. And look, at the end of the day, again, I tell people all the time, I'm accessible, right? If people, to me, being a community with all of our varied identities and things like that is like talking to people, right? Like, so that's if I like that's why I said there's no need to ever for anybody to apologize to me. If anybody ever had to apologize for anything, it's just for not reaching out. You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
oh
right.
hey, what's this about? Because I'd have sent you 14 copies. I'm like, hey, let everybody who got a problem with it read one, and yeah, and I promise you, when you get through the book, you be like, I see what you did here. You know what I mean? And that would have been it. And so,
Yeah.
we know for future reference, we still here.
Yeah, we still here. I really appreciate you for doing the work. Know that in this movement we are all doing the best that we can. I see that
hmm
you are out here doing the best that you can. Thank you for being fearless and not letting circumstances stop you from using your voice. Obviously there's been an onslaught and effort to silence black voices. You've been firsthand experiencing that with your books being banned. But talk to me about um, when we talk about no opportunity wasted. And
Mm,
I'm gonna let you go after this, I promise. But what's the opportunity now?
mm,
And meaning, as you see it, for yourself
mm.
and for our environment, what's the opportunity?
For myself, I think is the same as for our environment. I think it's to get free, right? I think that a lot of people might listen back on some of the things that you and I were saying, and they might be stagnated in fear or feel as though we're not as hopeful. And I actually would completely disagree with that. I think that
Correct.
some of the
Yeah.
things that we were saying are actually some of the more hopeful things that there are, because the
Mm-hmm.
hopeful thing is the truth, right? Because the
Absolutely.
first step is always the truth, and once you have the truth you can do something
Absolutely.
about that truth. And so for me, I think that this moment, when we're talking about elections, when we're talking about um just the degradation of those of us in society trying to just stay alive, right? The opportunity that we have in front of us is freedom, right? Because all of us collectively, or all of us individually, excuse me, are going through something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you
Mm-hmm.
are black and cishet, but whether you black and trans, or you black and poor, or you black and disabled, whatever. If you black or you brown or whatever, we all going through something. And the funny thing is, those somethings that we're going through are actually in front of us right now in this moment, and we can all decide to be in community together and collectively do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I see as the opportunity right now. Even this conversation actually just gave me so much life, because I think even you bringing up the book, right? And
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I'm so far removed from that book. I'm on my I just finished my seventh
You
writing
like
my
you like
seventh book.
I'm off that. You like Jay
Yeah,
Z?
yeah.
I've been off that.
But that's fine though, because for me, I'm like, oh, this actually gave me a lot of life, because I didn't know that my sister felt this way. So now we can go back and talk about it. And so the
Absolutely.
opportunity is to be on brand. The opportunity is always now, right? Like,
Absolutely. That is amazing. Thank you again. And again, like I said, I'm going to do better and being because again, we've been having these conversations about allies. And again, I appreciate it, the ways that what you said, you will step up for me. You know what I'm saying?
of
Like if
course.
anybody and in the same ways, I really appreciate the ways that because as a man, you have exhibited and demonstrated um what I know I want to see more of.
Mm,
I want just as I'm looking at everybody else like I'm so tired. Well, I'm over here and y'all continuously are uplifting the most toxic or negative, examples and voices of things. But again, it's this thing that we all have to do.
right.
So when we
Right.
see
Right.
all of these
Right.
different voices, we all have to actually amplify the better choice.
Right, right. That's exactly it. And I'm just so thankful for you, because I do think I wrote something and I mentioned you in it. I gotta send it to you, as a matter of fact. I just
Please
wrote something.
do.
Yeah, yeah. I got
Oh my
a Substack. I got a
goodness.
pretty large Substack platform, like 100,000 people on there. I wrote something just yesterday about the importance of creating safe space, and I mentioned you like in a line of, but anyway, nonetheless,
Yeah, yeah.
it's an honor and a privilege to be given the opportunity to demonstrate that you can create safe space. You know what I mean? And I
Yes,
think that if
yes.
we all understand that more, right? Like, to me, you inviting me here. I think you said you spoke to Francesca. Was that Ramsey?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. I love Francesca Ramsey.
We
Yeah,
all in
yeah,
the circle,
yeah.
yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And so, but as a man being here, as a black man, I'm woefully and acutely aware that a lot of the traumas of the spaces I'm in come from people who look like me and move like me, and
Yes.
it's that they're and
Yes.
exist in the same sort of bodies and things like that, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so I'm like, oh yeah, if I get invited to spaces, I'm like, you talking about, oh, I'm sorry, shit, you ain't got nothing to be sorry to me about. You didn't read the book. I don't give a shit. I'm just happy to be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
we
no.
we
But listen, but I got Patriarchy Blues, and I was definitely because listen, anytime a man is talking about the things of patriarchy, I thought that was absolutely excellent. I thought it was just very, very profound. I cannot wait to read your book of poetry,
appreciate it.
and just cannot wait to see what because the thing is that we will be free,
Yes.
and when we retell these stories, because Hollywood, the thing that irritates me most about Hollywood is that people will do anything
Mm,
to get that award,
mm,
whether that is co-opt a disabled person's story or a trans person's story or a hero story. Like
mm,
meaning like whether it is your James Baldwins or your whoever have been so radical at changing our culture, some of my colleagues can only deign to possibly play a world changer like that versus and so many I've seen some of them cosplay and steal phrases like speaking truth to power when their words have been written for them.
mm.
So my thing is like I am an actor, like you said before, I'm an actor. I love acting. But when we retell these narratives, you're going to be able to know that whether the cameras were on or off, that I was doing
Right.
the work.
Right, right, right. Oh, I ain't got. I'm not even gonna add to. Yes, yes, yes,
Well,
yes,
thank you so
yes.
much, Frederick Joseph, for being in the now. Where can folks keep up with you and everything that you're doing?
You can try to keep up with me on social media, but you probably won't
Try.
see you. You
Right. The
probably
algorithm is,
exactly. You probably will never see me post anything because I'm posting, but you ain't showing it. But I'm on the
yeah,
social media. Fred T Joseph.
you started coming back up for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's
why I've been,
wild.
like, you started coming back
Oh,
up for
that's
me. I
surprising.
haven't seen your content in a minute.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I
Somebody's
have
been
to.
saying that about me when I was commenting in Amanda Seal stuff, and they were like, "Oh my God, I've been following you since post, but I ain't seen nothing." You and I know, Lord knows, I'm posting like
You know
multiple times
what's
a week.
funny? The only thing I had saw was the thing with the woman we were talking about earlier, and I said the same things. I remember I went back and I started seeing all the stuff from just even from American Horror Story. I was like, I didn't see her post none of this. That's wild. You talk about like,
Well, what's wild is to have the insights and to have Meta constantly gaslighting us. So I'm looking at my insights,
yep,
and they're trying to say, "Oh, you hit the smash hit achievement on your reels because it's been successful." But in the same breath, you're telling me it's not successful because so if I had a reel that reached 300 something thousand people,
hmm,
but only 3% of those people were my followers.
right,
So
right,
how is it successful and not
right,
successful in the
right.
same?
It makes no sense, but and this is a whole different conversation for a whole different
They need
time.
to be
But the
sued.
they
It's
absolutely do.
in a huge way. I think that black people, we need to file a class action suit. It is layered because not to mention the white folks who have stole things from black people and creators off of TikTok and all the other things, but then to have the platforms themselves actually basically wipe us out with the algorithm.
Yep,
They
yep.
need their asses sued. They need to be sued down to their socks.
You're not lying, but ain't none of them, ain't nobody gonna do it.
Well, stay tuned.
Oh, all right. Well,
Well, all I'm saying is stay tuned in the sense that listen, people don't understand. Listen, I wanted to act. I didn't want to have to do all this, but since
uh
we're here, I'm getting trained in cybersecurity
mm,
because I founded Trans Tech, so a girl knows a thing or two about tech.
huh,
So as I go into politics and start talking politics, we're going to talk about what we're really talking about. Because y'all want to buy TikTok not to keep us safe. Because if we were having
right,
that conversation, we talk about Meta.
right, right,
So when someone can get in there and really, because I already can speak the language of tech,
right,
but when I really can talk about protecting our country, because I know things from cybersecurity, now you're really not going to be able to handle me. Now you're really going to ask her to get her up out of here.
right. Oof. Look, you know where to find me when I if I got whatever I gotta show up to, whatever I got, you know where to find me. I'm
I
around.
do. I'm
Uh
going to come
huh.
looking for you. Thank you so much for joining me in the now. We will be right back, y'all. That wow, that conversation was great, and what a great experience it is. Actually, I definitely am going to do this in a more in the future, in the sense that actually watching it back with you all and seeing your comments live. I see Jermaine was saying that just as someone who is disabled, you were loving this beautiful conversation and saying that it's hitting you in a powerful way and that you're grateful. Well, thank you so much, Jermaine, for watching and for listening. All right. And thank you again to Frederick Joseph. If you haven't gotten any of his books, just pick them all up. He's really brilliant. And I read the other works, and I am going to read The Black Friend as well because I felt really bad about that, as you can see in that interview. All right. So before we go, okay, because it's been a long episode already, but I do still have to drop a Buddhist breadcrumb, and I want to dive deeper into a concept that I've been really reflecting on a lot lately, and that has really fundamentally shaped the way that I live. And it's in Buddhism, we call it Ichinen Sanzen, or the idea that infinite potential exists in every single moment. So imagine being able to transform your entire life just by transforming your thoughts or your perspective. Well, Nichiren Buddhism teaches that this is not only possible, it's actually happening all the time. So, the questions you might be asking yourself is how? Like, how is by strengthening the condition of your life. Now, you know, we were just talking in our Buddhist, we have these weekly Buddhist discussion meetings, or not weekly, I think they're monthly Buddhist discussion meetings, but I'm at some kind of Buddhist activity every week. And this week, today, actually, we were talking about the mutual possessions of the 10 worlds and strengthening our Buddhahood. And what what this is saying is that, like, when we get to this level of Buddhahood, just there's so much misconception around all of it. But Buddhahood exists in all of the 10 worlds. This, when we say the mutual possession of the 10 worlds and strengthening our Buddhahood, what that looks like is being a Buddha or having Buddhahood does not mean that you won't experience hell, that you won't experience hunger, that you won't end up in a state of animality or anger. These are the lower realms of the 10 worlds. And so, and as you go up, the worlds are tranquility, heaven, the world of learning, the world of realization, the world of bodhisattva, and the world of Buddhahood. I'm reading out of Tina Turner's book, Happiness Becomes You. If you haven't read this book, I had the privilege of interviewing Tina Turner about this book for Glamour magazine, so you can Google that interview. Me learning about Tina and Buddhism, obviously this was one of the strong things that influenced me in the beginning, but I want to break this down of the how. So it's like, well, okay, so in the 10 worlds, so it talks about the fact that just as we are, whether in the state of hell or that of a bodhisattva, of a Buddha, we can immediately bring forth our Buddhahood at any time in any situation. So no matter what's going on, just as we are, we can call on that Buddha nature. And it says, that said, though, for ordinary people mired in doubt, divisiveness, and confusion pervading our world, Buddhahood can be the most challenging life condition to bring forth. So how we bring that Buddhahood forth, and how this has happened for me as well, is by courageously taking on problems and suffering for the sake of others. It strengthens the world of Buddhahood in our lives. So what it talks about is working to establish that state of Buddhahood as your baseline, like as your basic life tendency. It says, and I'm also reading out of Living Buddhism. This is our magazine that we study month to month. This is the September issue. You can go to sgi-usa.org to get more information or subscribe and get your own copies. But it says, so establishing Buddhahood as our basic life tendency, it says that our basic life tendency is the life state we tend to reside in due to our karma. That is, because of the causes that we made in the past. For example, some people might be quickly drawn to feelings of despair. That's the world of hell. While others might always be trying to outdo those around them, the world of asuras or arrogance or anger. Yet, from moment to moment, we also move from world to world in response to external and internal factors. So we strive to establish Buddhahood as our basic life tendency because it will help us lead a better life. When Buddhahood becomes the foundation of our lives, no matter the highs and lows we may experience, we can use everything to fuel our appreciation, hope, confidence, and joy. None of our experiences within those other 9 worlds are ever wasted and can be used to encourage others around us. The world of Buddhahood can also be described as a state of life where one willingly takes on even hellish suffering. This is the world of hell contained in the world of Buddhahood. It is characterized by empathy and hardships deliberately taken on for the sake of happiness and welfare of others. And it arises from a sense of responsibility and compassion. Courageously taking on problems and suffering for the sake of others strengthens the world of Buddhism in our lives. So what it means to live this doctrine of the mutual possessions is that when we live this way, we suffer what there is to suffer, and we enjoy what there is to enjoy. We don't try to build these sandcastles to experience good vibes only. We suffer consciously because we understand that this is a part of life, and being human, we're going to go through these things. Just because you done found Buddhism or spirituality or whatever you done found does not mean that you're not going to have problems and you're not going to experience hell right here on earth. There's so many people experiencing hell right now, right here on earth. So this week, I want you to understand that even in the midst of your hunger, of wanting more for yourself right now, even in being in a world surrounded by all suffering and hell, that these circumstances actually can strengthen your Buddhahood, that higher self. I'm speaking from experience. Listen, I come from hoeing on the streets. I've had a lot of experiences, and what I can say is that those experiences have made me rich. They have given me a sense of value that no one can take away. It has given me the ability to have compassion for other people who are still in those circumstances that I might not no longer be in. And when I show up as a Buddha, when you show up anyway as your best self, not someone who is lowering themselves down to other people's lower frequency of responding to things, but when you arrive at every situation with the best possible life condition you can, that's when you can show someone else the portal out of hell, the portal out of a state of hunger or animality or anger, by just being a reflection of something different, a reflection. And I say a reflection because what the mutual possession of the 10 worlds says is that inside the world of hell is still Buddhahood, and inside Buddhahood is still the world of hell. So if I can stand here as a reflection to you to tell you that I experience hell, I'm probably just stepping out of my own personal hell, to be honest. This year has been incredibly difficult. But if I can stand here and reflect to you the possibilities of vibrating higher, of finding my way out of that situation in a way that the winds will blow, but they will not knock me down. They won't knock me over. Like, I am standing firm where I'm at. I'm standing firm with humanity, with human rights, and not just LGBTQ people, not just trans people, not just black people. I'm talking about Palestine people. I'm talking about Jewish people. I'm talking about the people in the Congo and Sudan, of Tigray, the Haitian folks. I'm talking about every single human being around this world deserves to live with dignity and respect. Please, y'all, don't waste a single opportunity. I don't care what the circumstances are. Try to bring your best self so that you can light the way for someone else to find their way to higher ground. No opportunity wasted. We'll talk to y'all next week.